The Mariana Islands, a string of volcanic peaks piercing the vast Pacific Ocean. These islands, 15 in all, form a graceful arc. They stretch over 500 miles. Guam, the southernmost island, is the largest. The Marianas are remote, isolated, yet they teem with life. Lush rainforests cloak the islands. Coral reefs shimmer in turquoise waters. But the true story of these islands lies with their people. The Chamorro people were masters of their environment. They developed a complex social structure. Their society was matrilineal. Lineage and property descended through the female line. Women held considerable power. They were respected leaders. Their villages were models of sustainable living. They practiced agriculture, cultivating taro, yams, and breadfruit. They fished the abundant waters using intricate nets and traps. They built their homes using materials from the forest. Wood, bamboo, and palm leaves provided shelter. Perhaps the most enduring symbol of Chamorro culture is the latte stone. These massive stone pillars, capped with coral heads, were the foundations for their homes and ceremonial structures. They are scattered across the islands, silent sentinels of a bygone era. They speak of a people who revered their ancestors and lived in harmony with nature. The latte stones are a testament to Chamorro ingenuity. They're a symbol of their enduring presence on these islands. They represent a deep connection to the land and sea. The Chamorro people thrived in the Marianas for centuries before the arrival of Europeans. Their story is one of remarkable adaptation and resilience. The 16th century brought profound change to the Marianas. European explorers, driven by the quest for new lands and riches, sailed across the Pacific. In 1521, Ferdinand Magellan, a Portuguese explorer leading a Spanish expedition, landed on the shores of Guam. It was a momentous encounter, marking the beginning of a new chapter in the island's history. Magellan's arrival heralded the era of Spanish colonialism. The Spanish, eager to control trade routes and spread their faith, claimed the Marianas as their own. They christened them the Islas de los Ladrones, or Islands of Thieves, a derogatory name reflecting their initial encounters with the Chamorro. Spanish colonization brought about dramatic transformations. Missionaries arrived, seeking to convert the Chamorro to Christianity. The Spanish language and culture began to influence island life. The Chamorro were forced into a new social order, their traditional way of life disrupted. The introduction of new diseases, against which the Chamorro had no immunity, decimated the population. Land was appropriated for Spanish plantations. The Chamorro people, once masters of their destiny, found themselves subject to foreign rule. A period of resistance and conflict lay ahead. Section 4, Echoes of Resistance, the Chamorro Wars. The imposition of Spanish rule did not go unchallenged. The arrival of Spanish forces in the Mariana Islands marked the beginning of a tumultuous period. The Chamorro people, fiercely independent and deeply connected to their land, resisted colonial encroachment with unwavering determination. What followed was a series of conflicts known as the Chamorro Wars, a prolonged struggle that would shape the history of the islands. These uprisings, spanning several decades in the 17th century, were a testament to the Chamorros' determinations to preserve their way of life and their cultural identity. The Chamorro, skilled warriors with a deep understanding of their environment, employed guerrilla tactics to challenge the Spanish forces. They used their knowledge of the dense jungle and rugged island terrain to their advantage, launching surprise attacks and ambushes. They fought bravely against a technologically superior foe, displaying remarkable courage and resilience in the face of adversity. Despite their valiant efforts, the Chamorro faced overwhelming odds, as the Spanish forces were relentless and well-equipped. The Spanish, with their superior weaponry, including muskets and cannons and alliances with other indigenous groups, gradually subdued the resistance. The Chamorro Wars had a devastating impact on the islands, leaving villages destroyed and communities shattered. The Chamorro population, already diminished by disease brought by the Europeans, suffered heavy losses in the conflicts, further exacerbating their decline. Their traditional way of life was further disrupted as Spanish colonial policies sought to impose new social and cultural norms. The Spanish, victorious but weary of conflict, consolidated their control over the islands. establishing fortifications and administrative centers. The Marianas became a vital link in the Spanish trade route between Mexico and the Philippines, serving as a crucial stopover for ships. Guam, strategically located in the Pacific, became a provisioning stop for the Manila galleons laden with silver and spices, playing a key role in the trans-Pacific trade. However, despite their strategic importance, the islands remained a remote outpost of the Spanish Empire, isolated from the main centers of colonial power. The Chamorro people, though subdued, never forgot their struggle for freedom. Their cultural heritage and history of resistance continue to be remembered and honored by their descendants today. Section 5: Shifting Tides, from Spain to Germany and Japan. This chapter delves into the turbulent history of the Mariana Islands as they transitioned from one colonial power to another, each leaving its indelible mark on the archipelago. The 19th century ushered in a new era of imperial rivalries in the Pacific. European powers, driven by the desire for expansion and control, set their sights on the strategic islands scattered across the vast ocean. Spain, weakened by internal strife and facing challenges to its colonial possessions, found its hold on the Marianas slipping. The once mighty Spanish Empire was crumbling under the weight of political instability and economic difficulties. In 1898, the Spanish-American War erupted, marking the end of an empire. The conflict, brief but intense, resulted in Spain's defeat and the loss of its remaining significant colonies. The Marianas, caught in the cross-currents of global power struggles, were about to change hands once again. The island's strategic location made them a coveted prize for emerging powers. Following Spain's defeat, the United States annexed Guam, recognizing its strategic importance in the Pacific. This move marked the beginning of a new chapter in the island's history, as it became a crucial outpost for American interests. The remaining islands of the Marianas were sold to Germany, eager to expand its own fledgling empire. Germany's acquisition of the islands was part of its broader ambitions to establish a colonial presence in the Pacific. German rule, however, proved to be short-lived. The outbreak of World War I reshaped the geopolitical landscape, and Germany's hold on its Pacific colonies was soon challenged. With the outbreak of World War I, Japan, allied with the victorious powers, seized control of the German-held Marianas. Japan's entry into the war and its subsequent victories allowed it to expand its influence in the Pacific. The islands, once a peaceful backwater, were drawn into the vortex of global conflict. The strategic importance of the Marianas meant they were no longer isolated from the world's major power struggles. Japanese rule, initially welcomed by some Chamorro who saw it as a respite from Spanish colonialism, soon revealed its own harsh realities. The initial optimism gave way to disillusionment as the true nature of Japanese colonial policies became apparent. The Japanese, intent on exploiting the island's resources and strategic location, implemented policies that marginalized the Chamorro. The local population faced new forms of oppression and exploitation under Japanese rule. Japanese language and culture were imposed. The colonial administration sought to assimilate the Chamorro people, erasing their cultural identity and replacing it with Japanese customs and language. Land was confiscated for military installations. The strategic importance of the Marianas meant that large areas were repurposed for military use, displacing local communities and altering the landscape. The Marianas, once a symbol of Spanish colonialism, were now under the grip of a new imperial power. The island's history of colonial domination continued, with each new ruler leaving a lasting impact on the land and its people. Section 6: Crucible of Conflict, World War II, in the Marianas. The Marianas, a group of islands in the Pacific, became a significant battleground during World War II, forever altering their history and the lives of their inhabitants. The spectre of war returned to the Marianas in 1941. These islands, which had seen various colonial rulers over the centuries, were now thrust into the global conflict. Japan, seeking to expand its dominion in the Pacific, launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, plunging the United States into World War II. This attack marked the beginning of a series of intense battles across the Pacific. The Marianas, now under Japanese control and heavily fortified, became a strategic target for the advancing American forces. The Japanese had transformed these islands into formidable strongholds, anticipating the inevitable American counteroffensive. In 1944, the United States launched Operation Forager, a massive campaign aimed at capturing the Marianas. This operation was crucial for gaining a foothold in the Pacific and bringing the war closer to Japan's doorstep. The Battle of Saipan, one of the bloodiest battles in the Pacific theater, raged for weeks. The island's rugged terrain and well-prepared Japanese defenses made every inch of progress a deadly endeavor for the American troops. American forces, facing fierce resistance from entrenched Japanese defenders, fought valiantly. The battle saw intense close-quarters combat, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. The Chamorro people, caught in the crossfire, endured unimaginable hardship. Their homes were destroyed and their lives were upended as the battle raged around them. The Battle of Saipan ended in a decisive American victory, but at a tremendous cost. The island was left in ruins, and the human toll was staggering. Thousands of soldiers on both sides perished. The battlefields were littered with the fallen, a grim testament to the ferocity of the conflict. The civilian population of Saipan was devastated. Families were torn apart, and the survivors faced the daunting task of rebuilding their shattered lives. The battle left an indelible scar on the island's landscape and psyche. The once serene island was now a landscape of destruction and loss. Saipan, along with Tinian and Guam, became launching points for American bombers carrying out air raids on the Japanese mainland. These islands were now critical bases for the United States' strategic bombing campaign. The Marianas, once a distant archipelago, played a pivotal role in the Pacific War. Their capture allowed the United States to project power deep into Japanese territory. The islands witnessed some of the most brutal fighting of the conflict. The battles fought here were marked by their intensity and the high cost in human lives. The Chamorro people, caught in the maelstrom, endured displacement, suffering, and the loss of their homeland. Their resilience in the face of such adversity is a testament to their enduring spirit. The war's end brought about a new era for the Marianas, one marked by the profound influence of the United States. The islands began a slow process of recovery and transformation, forever changed by the crucible of conflict they had endured.